Last March 13th in 2020, like most of the rest of the world, we were busy preparing for free agency, preparing for our draft, the NFL draft in April, and getting ready for what was going to be our offseason program in the middle of April, when we got the same call that most people did in the world, that we were going to have some changes. And COVID-19 certainly forced us to adapt and adjust throughout the course of the year. And I'm going to share a little bit about what we did to try to get through our season, stay healthy, be competitive, in a tough and challenging environment. I think the first thing that we did, Bill set a great tone. He was very positive with his leadership initially. When we first heard it, there was a little bit of shock and awe that we weren't going to be able to do our, the normal things that we were able to do on a year-to-year basis. But he had a positive leadership, great attitude. I thought that was a critical ingredient to the overall tone. There was no fear. We kind of embraced what we were going to have to do. And he really did a good job initially when we first communicated that our circumstances had changed. We accepted what was going to happen. He immediately said, "This is what the situation is, and this is what we're going to have to deal with." And so we began by really doing a good job of explaining what our long-term goal was going to be, which was to really stay healthy and safe, and create a safe working environment so that we could continue to do our jobs and ultimately be competitive and make it through the entire season. That was really the goal from the beginning as we began. Once we kind of all understood what the long-term goal was going to be, then we started to develop some short-term goals. And those were really designed for us to be able to work and communicate effectively. We'll get into some of those here shortly. Our COVID committee was developed. We felt like that was important so that we could get voices from each group. Our staff, we had offensive staff members, defensive staff members, our special teams coach, and then we had some players that were part of our COVID committee. And that was really about listening to each other and understanding the challenges we were facing at home, some of the concerns we had about our work environment. I think that was really a good idea right off the bat so that we could kind of gather the collective concern and wisdom of the group and make good decisions as we move forward. Our communication was consistent. We were honest, we were informative, and we made it a point to be that way. Every day we had a staff meeting. We updated the staff on what was happening relative to the restrictions we were under. We had a team meeting every week, and we were able to, really update the team on exactly what was happening. And we created that environment of open, honest communication. Like most people, our workflow changed instantly. And it was important for us to understand that adaptation was going to be a big part of our year. We had no access to our office. We couldn't work through our internal network. We installed our WebEx. That was the way we were communicating. We didn't use Zoom. We used WebEx for all of our virtual work. And we had an entirely virtual off season where we were able to produce videos, put them on the cloud. The players were able to access those, video themselves, send things back to us. So it was the best we could do in a very challenging and different environment and setting. Our video IT and training and medical departments really did an amazing job. Our medical people were on call almost 24 hours a day. The video and IT department, they were early in the morning, late at night. And they were able to facilitate all the equipment that our players and staff needed so that we had a connection, we had processing speed, and we're able to do the things at home that we would normally do in the office. Our work production didn't suffer. We weren't able to be here in the office, but our work production didn't suffer. As I was mentioned, we did everything virtually. But one of the big things we did was we produced voiceovers and we uploaded those to the cloud so our players could access those, whether it was a coaching voiceover or we had apps that we set up for nutrition, strength, and conditioning. And we're able to let the players use those apps to try to stay as close to their normal day-to-day workload and information flow as they possibly could. And we knew it was going to be very important right away to continue some type of team building. Even though we weren't going to be there in person, we were going to try to have the opportunity to continue to build that trust that we knew was going to be really important as we went through the year. And we did that virtually with, Friday afternoon social hours. We did some sharing of family stories and those types of things to continue to build our team. The education piece was obviously very important. None of us knew what we were dealing with initially, but we trusted our doctors, trainers, administrators, our team psychiatrists spoke to us. All those people were involved in educating our team, our staff, and we included the families in that education. They were able to have those productions. We had them at night for the wives so that they were able to kind of catch up on some of the things we were hearing during the course of the day. We developed and communicated our protocols, which we thought was really important to creating a safe environment for us to work in once we got back. We had consistent testing, which was weekly during the off season, daily during the season. We had signage, and as you can see in the picture, hand sanitizer everywhere. We wore tracking devices every time we were in the building. We had mandatory mask wearing. Everyone was socially distanced. We didn't have anybody sitting in the dining hall. We had a note meal app where we were able to order our food, and we arranged different times for locker room use so the players weren't all stacked in there together. And I think it was important. We acknowledged there was going to be some sacrifices we were going to have to make, and that was going to be an important part of what we were doing. As I mentioned multiple times already, our communication was really important. Tracing, testing, transparency. We updated the team on what those things were telling us. If we were tracing and tracking too much together, we made it a point of, daily point to make sure we educated the team on the people that were too close together and kind of breaking those barriers so that we could kind of, do the things we needed to do. I think it was important that we created an environment where people felt comfortable sharing and speaking up. We encouraged that. We did that in small groups. We did it in big groups. And I think ultimately we were able to do that and provide our group with an environment that they felt safe to speak up in. We did have some adversity, but we kept our long-term goal in mind. We handled it immediately. We dealt with it directly. We had some positive tests. We did disrupt our workflow a little bit. We didn't make any excuses, but we just had to, we had to do some things in the middle of our season that we wouldn't normally had to have done. We debriefed regularly to ensure we were staying the course in staff meetings, team meetings, the COVID committee, as I mentioned. The medical people gave us great feedback on how we were doing as we were progressing through the year. And I ultimately think that our teamwork has never been more apparent than it was this past season. We needed everybody to do their part so that we could actually get through and accomplish our goal of finishing the season, competing very well throughout the course of the season, and then ultimately being safe and healthy as we did it. I thought we had a positive, thankful environment. Guys were happy to be here. It was important for us to be able to do that, to combat the stress of everything that was happening in our lives. And I thought we kept that vibe very positive throughout the course of the season. We celebrated the small victories with joy, and I rate the word love because that was really the truth. We had a good practice. We were happy about it, and we made it fun to continue to work through the year, even though we couldn't share our work with our families, which for us is something that we look forward to. And ultimately, we reached our long-term goal. We finished safely. We never compromised the most important element, which was the health of our staff and our team and our players. And we were able to try to be competitive and work through the course of the pandemic. So it was a challenging situation like everybody in the world was dealing with. But I think that we all came together. We did our part to try to get through this thing the best way that we could. And we were certainly proud of the effort that everybody put in.